Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Unique Beauty and Meditation podcast. So, we are continuing our way along the True Colors meditational journey. For the past 5-6 episodes, we've been taking a journey through some colors. We started out with a reading of the Ina Segal Secret Language of Color cards deck. And we embraced a little bit of awareness through each card. And then we have journeyed through some meditations. We started out with a brilliance meditation to embrace our brilliance and to look in the mirror and see that brilliance. And then we stepped into the red color meditation. The notion of freeing ourselves from pain and embracing passion and joy and vibrancy in life. And we've had some discussions along the way, and there's been some really pretty powerful shifts that people have moved through. And I'm honored to have been able to witness your experiences along the way, to offer maybe a little bit of guidance through the meditation or afterwards. And I really appreciate everybody that's reached out to share their experiences with me. Through this journey, or anything that we talk about on the podcast, when you reach out and share your experiences, it helps us build that community support. And chances are, if you're having an experience, somebody else is having a similar experience. And we validate our process as we share those along the way. So today, we are now getting ready to move into the amber color, which is our third and final color for this journey. However, it felt important that today that we pause, take a moment to reflect and check in with ourselves. When we move through these journeys, if you were to come in and we were to sit down and we were to move through a journey personalized for you, along the way, we would have some extra time to explore and experience these processes a little bit deeper. And I'm just going to stop for a minute and just say there is the most beautiful big flake snow happening right outside my window. It is November 1st when I'm recording this. And there is this beautiful snow that is happening right out the window. And for some reason, it makes me happy today. Most people are not happy when they see snow, but for me, I like it. Today, it feels good. So anyway, we are here. If you were to come in and we were to do this journey one-on-one and move through it, it wouldn't necessarily move as fast as we've been moving through this. We've done this journey through a series of episodes every week for like 6 weeks. And a lot of times journeys like this, we slow down and move through a little bit more mindfully and a little bit deeper and more personalized with that one-on-one experience. So what we're going to do today is we're going to slow down a bit and check in. When we do these type of journeys for individuals, we often allow 2 or 3 weeks between each color to really meditate and marinate in that energy. And with this one, we haven't really needed to. We've allowed a couple of weeks. Sometimes there's even a month in between when we're in that personal journey. But we've moved right along. Okay, now that I'm starting to repeat myself, I feel like it's good for us to pause, check in with our mind, check in with our body, check in with our soul and our energy, and reflect a little bit along the way. But before we get into that, I had another listener reach out with an experience that she's had. And like I said, I'm really grateful for everybody that's reached out. So Patty reached out and told me that she's been moving along this color journey and that she actually did the red meditation twice, and she saw a different flower each time. And I love the way this unfolded for her. She said the first time it was a rose with the center closed. And she said she understood that about herself. And it felt like there was, to me, reading her responses, it feels like there's power in her awareness of that. And she said the second flower was a large zinnia, and it was all open, but it was potted, and that the color kept changing. So she said that she gets to investigate this more and that she appreciated getting the meditation and that it fell into her life right when she needed it. Synchronicities, divine synchronicities. You got to love it, right? So there's a couple of things that stuck out to me within that experience for her. And One of the things I love is that she's empowered by understanding what that first initial rose meant for her and what that means within her awareness of where she's at and maybe where she gets to work a little bit. And I love the visual of the second flower and that zinnia being open and having those color changes in it, but also being potted. The notion of the flower being potted, yet being open, to me felt like boundaries. It felt like it was creating that safe space for her to explore that openness more. And it felt like the pot were healthy boundaries that were nurturing, opening up that energy and opening up that flower, which is really pretty powerful. I'm trying to think of what I love the notion of, I was just reading my response to her because there was a couple of notes in there I wanted to remember to share with you guys. I love the notion of feeling secure and having those boundaries. So what would those boundaries look like? When we start opening up and we start freeing ourselves from the pain and we embrace our brilliance and we embrace that more vibrant, passionate life, sometimes we have to do so in an environment that makes us feel safe and secure. And we do that within a community that feels open and accepting of us. So what do some of those boundaries look like? Let's chat about that for just a second. Thank you for sharing, Patty, because it creates a conversation that we get to have. So when we're creating certain boundaries within our life, sometimes that can look like energetic boundaries, where we work on meditating on that light that surrounds us, where we nurture our energy. Maybe it's boundaries with pushing out the things that aren't ours, or cutting those cords from stories or energy that isn't ours for us to carry. Maybe those boundaries are logistical and physical, and the fact that when you're opening up more, whether it's in meditation or journaling or to yourself in general, maybe finding a space in your house that feels safe and quiet is a boundary that you set. Maybe finding a place in nature that feels like you're away from the world and feels like you can settle and open up your energy. Maybe that's a boundary that you set. Maybe those boundaries are verbal with people in your life. Maybe you speak up to people and say, hey, I need this 5 minutes to do this meditation because it's important for me. Or maybe you say, hey, I understand that you're struggling right now, but for this few moments, I need to care for myself. Maybe those boundaries are more advocating for what you need versus continually helping others. Whatever those boundaries are, we get to set those boundaries so that it's safe and secure for us to open up and live more vibrantly and to let our brilliance out. So thank you, Patty, for sharing that, because that was a whole new concept that I don't think we've really touched on, that notion of setting up those boundaries to allow your brilliance to be nurtured and to allow you to recognize the pain, release it, and nurture that vibrant, more passionate process. Very cool. So before we get into more of what we were reflecting on today for the podcast, I just want to pause for a minute and I want to highlight a couple of things that are going on. We've talked about boundaries just now within the podcast and how that helps along our color journey. And I want to just offer a little bit of an advertisement or awareness of some of the things that I've got going on. So hang on just for 2 seconds while I share a few events that are happening or a few services that I have to offer for your end of your journey, and then we'll get back to the regularly scheduled content for this podcast. Okay, so when we're talking about boundaries, I also want to make sure that I share with you, we have a really powerful virtual mini session coming up on November 8th, that where me and Meredith will collaborate to Dr. Meredith McMichael here at the office. We are going to collaborate together and we're going to talk about setting boundaries and what those boundaries look like and feel like for the holiday season. As we move forward into the holiday season, there are beautiful things that we get to experience, but there's also extra stress, extra expectations, and extra interactions that sometimes may not be all that beautiful. Having healthy boundaries to care for ourselves is an important process along the way. So if you feel like you need a little rejuvenation or a recentering with what your boundaries are for the holidays and how to move forward with healthy energy and healthy self, definitely check that out. You can find it in the events tab on my website. You can find it on Meredith's information. We'd love to see you there. And that's virtual, so you don't have to be local, and you can join from wherever you are. The other thing I wanted to highlight today within the services and experiences that I offer is is actually an end of year reading. There is this notion as we move into the holidays, there's this extra stress and extra expectation we take on, and it can be busier and more hectic. And often there's also a bit of an emotional journey that we're moving through the end of year. So one of the things that I'm offering my clients is this end of year reading. And what we do within those sessions is usually we'll pull 2 cards, maybe 3, but usually 2 cards purposefully. We'll connect with your energy. I'll share some intuitive insight, and we'll pull 2 cards to honor where your energy is currently and what you can do to support your energy moving forward. These end of year readings fit perfect in a mini session or a 30-minute session. So you have the option of scheduling that mini session virtually or in person, and we can connect together one-on-one and have intuitive conversation as we go through the reading. And you can do that by way of my scheduling website. If you go on my dot profile, which is in the comments or in the description of this podcast, book session. And you can book a 30-minute session, whether you want it virtually in person. There's both those options. Or you can reach out to me and you're like, I really want one of these end of year readings. I'm not able to connect with you. Can you record it? And I would go through and offer you one of these end of year readings, recorded, and send it to you for you to listen to when you're able to. So a couple of different options for these really powerful readings to help offer a little guidance, maybe a little clarity, and help to give you a couple of things to focus on as you move through the last 2 months of 2023. There we go. So those are a couple of things I got going on that I really wanted to make sure I shared with you. And if you need any help with any of that, please reach out. I would love to connect with you. Okay, so we talked about Patty sharing her experience, and I shared those thoughts with you. But now let's talk about what we're doing today to support us on this journey. One of the things that it feels like is important for us to do right now is to pause and check in with ourselves. We have moved powerfully through some pretty awesome color and energy, and we have allowed ourselves to do these meditations. And like I said before, sometimes we like to have some space to reflect and to check back in with our journey before we complete it. And that's what it felt like today. So what I encourage you to do this week is to look back on your journey. Maybe even go back and listen to some previous episodes. Maybe you need to go back and re-listen to the reading in the beginning and be like, hey, what did we even start with intention-wise? That's one of the things I want to do is I want to listen to what that reading was in the beginning to see if it's shifted along the way and to see if there's any points of focus that we get to touch on. Maybe you really liked the Brilliance meditation and you feel a little bit far away from that and you want to revisit that picture in the mirror, or you want to revisit that energy. Take a couple of days and go back and re-listen to that meditation. Maybe you still have some work to do with a red color. Maybe your first couple of meditations with red color helped to bring some awareness of what pain you get to release. And maybe along the way, that pain came up to the surface and you felt like you were immersed in it versus releasing it. A revisit to the red meditation could help you take that pain that maybe has come to the surface and work on releasing it. I reference pain as a blanket term for those petals in that meditation that we were removing, whether it's pain or fear or unworthiness. I know one of mine was alone was aloneness, which felt foreign. If you've had things that have come up within the red meditation, and now you've had emotions that have come to the surface that you're experiencing, take a moment to go back and revisit that meditation. Now that you're in those emotions a little bit more, listening to that again could help you really signify releasing them once they're up there on that surface. So check in with yourself. What have I done along this journey? What has gone well? Where do I need to go back and tweak and review or experience again? And then sit with it. Let yourself have this time to really marinate in the process that you've had so far. I had another thought that came to my head, and I don't know what it was. Okay, well, we're going to move on then. So one of the things that also gets to be important as we are checking in with all those emotions. Oh, that's what it is. Back up a little bit before we're going to set that over here and talk about that in a minute. As we move through these journeys, emotions come up for us to address them. Patterns, thought patterns, emotional patterns, patterns within our life that are not working for us become part of our awareness or come to the surface to be addressed. Sometimes that looks and feels a little messy. Sometimes there are emotions we have along the way or realizations along the way that are brought forward by some more shadowy experiences within our life. That's okay. Love yourself through it. Give yourself a moment to pause, to honor where you are emotionally and witness it, knowing that it's here to offer you an awareness and not be here forever. I'm going to share a little bit of experience that I've had over the past few days because I do feel like this is part of my process, and I will be revisiting the red color meditation to help me continue to move through this process before we embrace the amber creative energy. So yesterday, the last few days, I have woken up in not pleasant emotions. I've been anxious, overwhelmed easily. I haven't been my best self in the morning. I haven't been my best self to myself or to the family. And I've had some old energies and emotions come up in me that I thought I was moving past. And that can be frustrating. And it was overwhelming yesterday. And I felt like I did great. I got out of my own emotions. I shifted them, and I was coming to the podcast, and I was sitting down ready to do the podcast. I recorded this once, and it felt amazing when I got done with it. And then I go back and look, and it never recorded. Admittedly, I have thought in my head 5 times through recording this, please let this record. I don't want to go through this again. And that just completely defeated me and triggered an emotional reaction that I no longer want to be a pattern in my life. So the reason I share this is so that because I've been open through this whole experience with my stuff and with sharing your stuff, and I feel like this is how we grow together. I feel like when we move along these journeys and we work on shifting, we start out with one way, and by the end, we've really worked on moving through some energy and embracing another way. When we do that, there are things that come up to be healed along the way. They don't own us. And that energy that I was in my life. It wasn't so much that it came up in my meditations. It wasn't so much that it came up in the podcast or the readings that I did for the podcast or like sitting with the energy before I offered the podcast. It felt disconnected from the podcast. It was part of my journey. And those emotions and energy can come up show up in our life in different areas of our life when we go through this journey. We are our whole beautiful self. And because one area of our life is doing great and one area is off, it doesn't mean that they're not connected. We are celebrating our whole beautiful self. And there is an ebb and flow and a give and take, yin and yang, that we experience as we go. So as you move through this process, if things come up, love yourself through it. Know that your emotions and your thoughts don't own you. Find help for yourself if you need support moving through this. If there is past life stuff, or there is childhood stuff, or deep emotional, mental wellness stuff that you come up with, reach out to professionals that can help you through this. You deserve that care, okay? Promise me you'll take care of yourself along the way. Also, shift your space, shift your perspective. When you can get up and out of the space that's off, that's triggering you, get up and out of the energy that's triggering you, even just take a minute to walk outside. Maybe stop at the lake on the way home. Maybe go sit in your kitchen for a few minutes and breathe. Allow yourself space if you're having these things come up to shift that perspective. Shifting your physical location is a great way to invite in that shift of perspective. Some of the things that I have done over the past few days that have helped me shift my perspective from those moments that felt more shadowy that I didn't want to experience. I went to coffee with a friend. Even though my mind said I shouldn't go, I went, and it made all the difference in the world. And I came here to work, and it broke that pattern of those spaces or those energies that were triggering those shadowy emotions. Sometimes shifting our location, shifting our perspective really helps us see beyond what we are currently experiencing. Does that make sense? Let me know if this resonates with you and this makes sense. Maybe you're in the journey, you're like, no, I'm all good. I haven't had anything come up. I'm feeling great. It's all good. I don't have to revisit. That is fantastic. Celebrate that. Take this time then to celebrate that. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to take 5 minutes and we are going to sit and check in with our energy for 5 minutes. So our homework this week, what we are doing along the journey this week, we talked in the beginning about revisiting our journey, checking in with ourselves, seeing where we have really enjoyed, seeing where we feel we might have to revisit, maybe going back and re-listening to the reading, see what resonates for us now, maybe visiting some of those meditations again. Do so mindfully, plan for that throughout your week. And then also, our second part of our homework is to allow 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, preferably daily, but at least a couple of times, where you can sit in silence and just be in your energy. 5 minutes to just be present in your body, present in your mind, and present with your emotions. This is going to do a couple of things. This is going to slow you down, and it's going to support an energy to check in with yourself and see where you are along the journey. It's going to give your mind and body space to unfold and help your mind and body realize that it's safe for you to experience these things and that it's safe to bring up some of these things that get to be released. And this is 5 minutes that you are loving on and allowing your full self without reaction. Okay? So I'm going to change the music. Okay. Bring this a little closer. And I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. That's really loud. Okay, I'm hoping you guys can hear this, okay? And I'm going to play this timer for 5 minutes. and I'm going to offer you maybe a couple of little small guidance moments, but our main goal is to sit with some calm music and just be present within our energy. Breathe smoothly. Okay? Ready? You can start off with a deep cleansing breath, involving your belly in your full lung capacity in this deep breath. Then allowing yourself to settle in, to lean back, to feel your inhale and exhale in your chest, and to just be with yourself physically, recognizing the sensations in your body. You can adjust your body if you need to along the way without disrupting these moments. Keep breathing smoothly and comfortably as you check in with your mental self. Where's your mind? Allow yourself to check in with your emotional self. Well done. Oh, that's really loud. Stop. Ooh. Okay. Well done. Why? Okay, we're still going. It made me use my fingerprint to open my computer back up, and I was nervous that it didn't record. So, kudos to you for sitting in your energy for 5 minutes. I know it sounds like 5 minutes really shouldn't be that big a deal, but it really is. Being present with our body, our mind, and our emotions for 5 minutes, letting our mind wander if it needs to, letting those emotions surface if it needs to, and not reacting is a super powerful practice. For me today, now having done this, I recognize this is a powerful practice I need to embrace more often. And it will be the start of all of my meditations that I do for myself moving forward for a little while. Our journey has been a powerful journey so far of self-reflection. We've really allowed ourselves to witness our energy and our mind and our body and our emotions as we move through the past 2 visual journeys. Part of this powerful self-reflection is allowing moments to simply be and witness, be in and witness our energy. And I commend you for doing that today. Okay, so we're going to finish off today with we're going to pull a card. This is the Field Tarot deck by Hannah Elizabeth Fofana, if I am saying her last name right, Fofana. So let's pull a card and see what comes up. I love this deck for its colors, its images, its vibrancies, its ability to embrace the dark and the light. That's what we are, dark and light. We have to embrace all parts of ourselves. Okay. So we're going to go over here to the beginning. Ooh, we're going to go to this one. Stability. Ooh, I love that. So often when we talk about stability, I'm automatically drawn to the notion of root chakra work. Red is a root chakra color. I love the notion of stability within all parts of ourselves. When I look at this, I look at stability within our mind, within our body, within our mental mind, body, emotions, and our spirit. The idea of that physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual stability. And what does that look like for us? How do we get to find that as we heal and move through this journey? Also, nurturing balance and love for others and ourself. Green is very much a heart chakra color. Orange, allowing those connections and creativity, very much a sacral chakra. We've got purples. They don't come across on camera real well for those that are watching the video. We've got this ring here with purples and pinks, self-care and awareness. And then we've got these blues and these light colors, being clear and confident in our communication. So I feel like all of those honor, when we can celebrate those notions in our life, we can create a more stable environment within our mind, within our body, and within our emotions and within our spirit to help us along this journey. So a reminder to check in with all of those areas of ourselves. And for those of you that are listening to this podcast versus watching, go on to the social media, my social media, and I will tag this card on my Instagram or on Facebook, and I will post this card so you can check it out. But there is a diamond color with more lightness above and more earthy tones below, and it's got 4 rings that are intertwined, and it creates they're rings and circular, but they create the notion of a square, stable shape. So there we go. How can you offer balance and love for yourself and others? How can you embrace creative energy, self-love, and a little bit of awareness, communicating clearly and confidently? Just some notions to carry with you as you move forward. Again, Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. Thank you for listening, being present, and for sharing so openly. I am here to help you along the way. If you would like to dive into this work deeper and you want to work one-on-one, on the website, there is a form there that you can fill out, and you can reach out and share with me what work you're looking to do, and we can talk about some options for you and how that one-on-one would work. So if you're interested, reach out and let me know. Following this podcast, sharing this podcast with a friend, leaving a review are really great ways that you can expand, that we can expand awareness of this work, but also that you can support me along this podcast and me along this way. So if you want to support, follow, share, review. There is options to support financially if you decide you feel so drawn to, but there's absolutely no need to. Just simply sharing it with a friend or leaving a review is a really powerful way. Now that I've said that way too many times, I'm going to tell you to have a wonderful day, continue to celebrate your uniquely beautiful self, and I'll see you here next week, God willing, for our Amber final color meditation.